Hey everybody, welcome to your unpaid therapist.
Hello, welcome to another episode of your unpaid therapist.
I'm not getting paid. I didn't even get a donut.
Oh, that's sexy though. I like it. I'm Valery Milagros Ortiz. I don't know. I am your host, Alikona. She's away. Bradford.
This is your unpaid therapist. Shoo-wah, cha-cha. Woo, y'all, we had such a warm up to today's conversation. I am so excited because I feel like we're going to have like some really juicy male-female debates and I'm all for it. So, hello everybody. I'm Alikona. She's away, Bradford.
And give me that pause. You heard my voice and I'm Valery Ortiz. Am I excited?
I mean, is she? I don't know.
I don't know. I'm Valery Ortiz. Welcome to another episode of your unpaid therapist.
With our special guest.
Thank you.
Say your name.
David Lawrence Hicks.
Okay. Today we wanted to talk about an array of things. I'm let Val adjust. There we go.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay.
If you're not watching us, what I was just doing is
making some slight camera adjustments.
Yes,
It's
there
okay.
we go.
Okay, so we're going to talk about an array of things, right? First of all, it started off, we wanted to talk about like dating in your 30s and 40s because the landscape has changed so much. But then we started talking about how men think way differently from women. We're going to get into the whole women are so emotional. Right brain, left brain activity, all the things. But you know, we got to kick this off with a little bit. Never have I ever. So let's do that first.
Ever.
Yes.
Okay. Let me mix these cards up. And if you're new to the show, welcome. And what we do is we play this Never Have I Ever game. We write these Never Have I Ever prompts that we write, right, out of nowhere. Well, not out of nowhere, some out of our own experiences and some not. So it gets really funny. You want to pick
Some are just out of our butt. Whatever. Okay, I don't think I've picked a blue one yet.
Okay.
All right. So never have I ever seen a stranger's miracles and blessings.
Aw, that's a cute one.
A nice one.
Y'all don't know what miracles and blessings means?
Oh, no.
You've seen.
Never have I seen a stranger's miracles and blessings.
Wait.
Oh,
Wait.
that's what that meant.
What street? Wait, what's it?
I was like, oh.
What neighborhood is that? I'm the same way. I'm like, praise the Lord. I'm like, miracles and blessings.
Oh my God, what does that mean? See, now you know, like I prefaced, Alikona wrote that card.
Wait, miracles and blessings are code words for
your
genitals?
Yeah, your parts.
What neighborhood? Where?
Texas, apparently, because that's, yeah.
Okay.
Miracles and blessings.
Yeah.
Because you wrote this and we're still trying to understand. Process it. We were thinking about, okay, yeah.
I was going to be like, no, but I have. And it didn't feel like a miracle at all.
Wait, I don't remember the first part of the question.
Never have I ever seen a stranger's miracles and blessings.
Okay.
So you guys, this one time, okay.
At band camp.
One time at band camp, everybody knows if you watch the show, I like me some late night walks. So I went on a walk and I had some money I needed to deposit at a bank. And I was like, okay. And it's on Ventura Boulevard, which is like the hot spot in Sherman Oaks. All the nice restaurants are there and there's a Wells Fargo. And so as I am going to Wells Fargo, I see a homeless man. And I was like, oh, bless his heart. I'll just deposit the blessings. I got these big bills. I had like a 5 or a 10 or something. And he was just like, like this. And I'm like, why is he Asian and old? He really wasn't. But anyways, he was kind of, for those of you listening on the podcast, he was just kind of like crouched over, like looking like he was a little tired and weary from the cold weather.
Because it's dark outside and he's probably sleeping.
And I was like, oh, here you go, sir. And I handed him the bill of whatever. And he looked up and he's like, oh, thank you. And when he did that, I realized his penis was just out and erect. And the reason he was hunched over is because he was masturbating.
Oh,
and I was like,
God.
You interrupted him.
I know, but he got free money. I was like, oh, okay, bye-bye.
He was
But
like,
I felt so violated.
oh, gosh. Welcome to Hollywood.
Right?
That was not a miracle or a blessing.
No.
Jesus.
Call it something.
Gosh, so have I ever seen it? Probably. I don't.
I tried to forget, and I don't want to recall. Okay, I'll save you. I definitely have because I lived in New York.
Yeah.
Yeah, quick version. Yeah, one day just going out to the subway.
If you ever.
And I go through the little turnstile thing. It was super early. No one's really there. And I look to the left and to the right. And when I look to the right, way down at the end, I thought I saw a figure of a person.
Mm-hmm.
But it was really, really far away. And I kind of looked away. Then I looked back. And it was a person walking right on the edge.
Oh.
Where it's like yellow.
Mm-hmm.
Right where the subway is. And I couldn't tell what they were wearing, but it was far away. And as I got closer, I was like, I think she's naked.
Oh.
And so she just kept walking very slowly down the yellow part.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh yeah, she's naked. And the comedian in me just decided to make this funny. So instead of I turned my back to where the subway was, and I was looking back to watch other people come through the turnstile and discover this naked woman. And I just wanted to watch people's reaction.
Yeah.
And it was priceless. Like people would just double
But you would
take.
think New York, like you're ready. Like it's almost like just another day.
But it's that immediate, right? It's
Yeah.
that immediate, like, oh, what the?
Oh,
what
okay.
is going on?
Yeah.
That just happens.
I
Yeah.
feel like I saw that in North Hollywood like a few months ago. You know, like there's this a woman walking down the street.
But you
with her
win
booty.
with that tipping of the man
I
masturbating.
know, right?
No,
Right?
It sounded like that's what you did. Like you tipped him. Like, good job.
He was like, yes.
Just not expecting that at
That was
all.
his miracle.
Right.
And his blessing.
Yeah.
That is funny. Okay. Baby, pick a card. Any card.
Could this be a smaller font? Never have I ever been forgotten somewhere by my parents or forgotten my own kid/pet somewhere. So this has always been a fear of mine my whole life, and it's never happened.
Oh, good.
Of being forgotten?
Of
Forgetting?
Both. I've seen other kids like out there waiting with like a teacher, and it's like an hour after school.
Oh, yeah.
But and then my daughter's 5 now, so I'm very I'm early because I've always had like that fear of where's my dad? My dad's not here.
Yeah, that's so
So,
scary.
That's why I'm always early because I've
Yeah.
always been scared of that.
Yeah.
So no. The answer is no. So I haven't been forgotten anywhere by my parents. And I was going to say my brother was, but he wasn't forgotten. He just got lost at Disney World.
That doesn't
and whatever.
count.
Yeah, no, that doesn't count. No, so
Big
no.
place.
I did.
Ay, ay, ay.
We
I got
figured-
forgotten.
we figured-
Ow!
Man down.
Paper cut. She just threw the card and hit him in the eye, guys.
Man down.
Sorry, are you okay?
Man down.
Oh, gosh. Okay,
Okay.
go ahead.
Oh, yeah, dang. Okay. Yeah, my
Where?
parents at the YMCA overnight.
Overnight?
Yeah. My mom was working, and then when she got off of work, it was my dad's turn to pick me up, but he didn't realize it was his turn. And so after his work, he went to the bar. Of course. And was like chilling at the bar, and it got late after a while. And I think my mom eventually was like, so where are you? What's going on? And he's like, oh, I'm at the bar. And mind you, there weren't cell phones back then. There weren't cell phones back then in the day. And so I don't even know how she got a hold of him at the bar, or maybe he finally came home from the bar and she's like, where'd you go? And he's like, oh, at the bar. Oh, you brought wait, why would you bring our daughter to the bar? I didn't bring her to the bar. But where is she? With you? No? She with you.
Oh, God.
And my ass was that kid that was like, Mom? Dad? And they sent me home with one of the camp counselors at the YMCA, who I thought was so old, but she was probably like 16. And I stayed the night at her house. I ended up having fun. She, I think, eventually got a hold of my mom. And then at that point, I was like, well, I'm having fun with whoever she was. But I remember going to school the next day and being like, I have the same outfit on that I had on yesterday. This is really embarrassing. And I was in kindergarten.
Oh, my goodness.
Weird.
Oh, that's
But yeah, so I've been forgotten. And my dog used to be so quiet. I didn't forget her, but there were many times where I'd be driving and just happen to look in the backseat. I'm like, oh, that's right, you're in the car.
Lani Kai?
Yeah.
By the way, Lani Kai, R.I.P. baby girl. But she was we were talking about her earlier because Alikona would take her hiking in a little book bag thing, but Lani Kai so her belly would be towards the outside. How
It's
would
like
you
a baby carrier. When you have
Yeah.
a baby carrier and your baby's facing outwards and you have her on your belly, it's the same thing. Her little
backwards,
fours. Yeah,
right?
but I would put her on my back.
Yeah. So, but she would just sit there, super cute, like living her best life, just like boop, 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 boop. No, like I never heard a peep out of Alikona.
Yeah,
I
everyone
don't
thought
even
she
know
was
what-
fake.
Yeah.
Well, she was pink at one point, like her whole body was pink, and so people thought I was just hiking with a stuffed animal.
Yeah.
You know?
Makes sense. Makes sense.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God. Wow. That I don't know what to do with that whole story. Let's
Okay.
check it out.
Okay. Our last one, y'all.
Never have I ever been rejected after. Gosh, just all the bad stories. Never have I ever been rejected after telling someone I liked them.
Aww.
Oh. So first of all, I was never bold enough to tell anybody I liked them. I was too dorky and scared. But I remember the only story that I could kind of relate to that is when I was a kid, I was in the Nutcracker, and I remember thinking the little boy that I was paired up with was so cute, and we had to wear our hair in like a tight little bun, and we had a hairpiece. Like for our curls to, I know, for our curls to be like all bouncy or whatever. And so in the Nutcracker, if you haven't seen it, like the beginning of the story, well, it's like a big Christmas party, and as a little kid, you're assigned a family. So you have a fake mom, fake dad. And then my fake mom and dad were like playing with my hair, and it was the time for me and my partner to start skipping up to the front because all the little kids kind of do this little dance in the front. This was like my opening night at the Bob Carr Performing Arts Theater in Orlando, Florida, which is at the time a big theater. And all of a sudden, I see people like with their cute little long pointy legs, like kicking a piece of hair across the stage. And like they're kicking it to the wings of the gangs. And then the little boy I was dancing with, he was like, "You look bald." And I was like, so. And it's funny because to this day, like if my hair is like all the way super tight back now, I don't care. I'm wearing those tight low ponytails and I love it. But for the longest time, I could not do a bun or anything that made me like look bald because of that. Because I was like, I look ugly, and he pointed it out, and I thought he was so cute. So at that point, I would have never told him I had a crush on him because he thought I looked probably like a little boy.
Aww.
It was so messed up. Yeah. Have you?
I've never told a boy I like. I mean, yeah, no.
Yeah.
But you reminded me, sorry, really quick, of a story. So, not that it's our story to tell, but Taylor Page, who was on Hit the Floor with You, I remember she came on our show on AfterBuzz, and she said at one point she was dancing and she had like a boobie, like those they call them chicken cutlets because they're like in a nude. They push up your boobs, fellas. And she said she was dancing and it flew out. And I think it's like somebody, like T-Pain or somebody was a guest on the episode. Yeah, and it just like flew out on the floor. She was like...
That's so funny. Good times.
Yeah.
Have you ever told anybody? Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, approaching a girl, trying to get a date.
That must be so. I mean, we normalize the fact that men are supposed to ask women out and forget the fact that they do have feelings.
Standard, yeah.
And you're just supposed to get used to rejection until you get the right one. But I imagine that's got to be hard.
Yeah, I was young too. Like those are the times that you like tear up sometimes because it hurts. You don't know how to like handle it. It gets easier, fellas. A little bit.
Aww.
But yeah, for sure. But it's just,
part of it.
Yeah.
it's what it is.
So speaking of approaching women and all the things, we wanted to talk about multiple things, right? Yeah. So we're going to talk about how you guys met specifically because, again, the dating in the 30s and the 40s, and it's so socially put into your brain that you meet somebody when you're in your 20s, and maybe that's changed with time, but it's like you meet someone in your 20s and you get married and blah, 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 and that's cool. But nowadays people are like, if you're married and you're not happy, it's okay to leave that relationship and move forward. But then you got to jump into the dating world again. So it's like, and it's so funny because Dave and I were having this conversation while you weren't in the room. And I said, I just always thought I was going to be at the grocery store and drop a can of soup on a man and his toe. And that's how I was going to meet the one. So
Mark living.
So y'all are talking about some dating apps. I'm like, what? No.
So would you ever?
Oh, the only way I would do
First
that.
of all, don't ever make that face.
I was like, no, because I have
a no, right?
complex about my age. But I just mean, if I did, I think it'd be like I'm going on a vegan app because the next person that I date is going to. What? what? No, I'm serious. If you are not, if you're vegan and you date somebody who's a meat eater, right? You don't realize how hard that is.
Yeah.
Sure.
Everything from y'all. I no offense to anybody, but like your breath,
Yeah.
your pores, it comes out. Certain foods like sausages. Oh my God! Like before my dude became a vegetarian, which he did. It took him a while, but and I don't want to hurt his feelings, and especially like when you're getting to know somebody, but like you go in for the kiss and you're like. Oh dear.
Hot dog man.
No, it's not even hot dog. It's like it's digesting,
digesting.
and it's like it's fermenting or just doing some stuff on the inside,
Yeah.
and it's like from the esophagus. So no kind of brushing is gonna fix that.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's like after that, I was like, ooh, if I ever date again, like he's gonna have to be some kind of plant based because I can't like with the smells and
Yeah. And just so, by the way, for anybody who hasn't been on a dating app, you can put that that can be
Yeah.
a preference.
Yeah.
So
Vegans only.
Yeah, yeah, and
exactly.
look, and it's from a compassionate place too. So it's like he'd cook some stuff, and I'd be like on the verge of tears because I'm like, oh my God, it's a baby.
yeah. No,
You
but
know?
that's kudos to you for. Again, look, we're gonna dive deep because that's another very big thing that you kind of just still push through in a relationship where it was just like, no, but I accept this person and da da da. Like that's hard. Like you need to eat to survive. So like
Yeah.
to kind of look past that, a very big thing. And
Yeah. But in my whole life, I've only had 2 boyfriends, and they both went plant based while dating me. So I'm like, I changed the world.
there you go. But yeah, I mean, good for you.
Anyways, but you guys, like, so what made you guys decide to do the whole app situation?
I'll start.
Is that what we did?
He doesn't want to admit it. So at least for me, I married my high school sweetheart. So it wasn't even, you said in your 20s, I was a darn near baby, you know? And so I never dated. I didn't know what dating was. I never went on a date like that, you know? I was in high school and I didn't know, I couldn't even tell you what that could have felt like. So I missed all of that in my 20s. And so when I went through my divorce, and we've talked about this in other episodes, so it's not even relevant to this one, but to be dating, it's like, what? Like, what does one do? Like, and I didn't even know who I was. Like, I was literally a child when I met my husband. And so that was a mind fuck altogether. And I was just like, and scared. But it was exciting.
But were you like, okay, I'm gonna get dressed up and I'll be like, whoo, and like out in the world? Okay.
No, I was never that girl. Girl, you know that wasn't me.
By the way, for those of you listening, all my hoofs were like lifting of the boobs and puckering of the lips and tousling of the hair.
Definitely never me. But I got lucky enough to have met the next person that I dated at work and got to know them on a daily basis because I saw them all the time, and then we kind of developed a friendship, and that was what it was. But so kind of again, I didn't have to be out in the dating world. It kind of found me. So then when that ended, and I'm like dating, I was like, what do I do? You know?
Yeah.
And the world was different, pandemic, blah blah blah. And I was excited. My brother actually was the one who kind of not suggested the dating apps, but like he was on them. And then my mommy was like, you should do it. Like, you never know. And da-da-da. So I was in Florida, and like literally it was my mom. She's like, you should pay for it, whatever. We were sitting in my room at my mom's house, and it was actually like a really fun memory, to be honest. Like, I think that's why this experience for me was really pleasurable, because like I felt like my mom and I were best friends. Like best girlfriends. Like we would go through the pictures and like crack up. And my mom's like way of saying that somebody was good looking would be like, él es interesante, which in other words is he's interesting. That's my mom's like way of being like, oh, he's cute. Él está interesante. So we bonded so much. We would crack up. Like she was like, and I mean, like we've talked about this. Me and my mom are so close and best friends. So I would tell her, oh, this guy messaged me, and she's like, oh, and we would catch each other up, and I'm like, oh, he's gonna FaceTime or call me or whatever. It was fun. It was kind of funny. Like it was just like, like no big deal. So I enjoyed it, and again, I never did that. So for me, it was like, Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. As unconventional as it was. And I think because I didn't have any weight on it and everything that I thought my life was gonna be, like I was married. I thought I would have had at least 2 kids by now. That was so far from what my life was. So I'm like, fuck it. What do I have to lose?
Yeah. Yeah.
Why not?
And what about you?
Oh, where do I start?
Like, because, I mean, Val was saying, like, you were always that person that was encouraging other people to do it. And then, like,
I had
To
a
find love and
yeah, I had a lifestyle coaching company, and an aspect of it was social enhancement and helping people find love, and online dating was a big part of that. I was married at the time. I was
so you were
good.
giving advice that you wasn't even taking.
I didn't. Well, I was married.
I know, I'm just
Oh,
saying.
yeah, I was married, and so, and I was very good at it, and I loved, being able to see people fall in
find that
love,
person.
and like, I was like, wow, I put this into motion. I helped this guy get his stuff together, helped him set up his profile, helped, give him tips on dates, what to do, what not to do. Second date, met his wife. Like,
Yeah.
that's
awesome.
a
That's
real
cool.
thing. This guy was a mess when I got him, and now he's in love and he's married.
When I got him, like, you got him at the adoption services at the puppy adoptions.
So, and then after my marriage was over, I had a lifestyle where, I had a 3-year-old daughter. I had her 50% of the time. And I lived on a side of town that was pretty much all families. And, I went on play dates with my daughter. I went to Trader Joe's and I went to the gym. So if I didn't meet somebody or through work,
They didn't drop a can of soup on your toe. Then you were just in trouble.
and so I knew that I had to do something else, and I knew what I had to do. And I knew how to do it,
Yeah.
right? Because I did it from the other side. And so reluctantly, I slowly got on an app.
But were you like, is this a bruise to my ego? Because that's how I don't know. I think
I can see, it's like, this is my life now.
yeah.
Right? Because you don't, and I think you can attest to too, like when you're in your relationships, the ones that you think you're done, right? You're not like, oh, this is my casual husband. You're like, this is it. Like, this is my for now husband. Right? It's my first husband. Right? You don't think like that. And so when it ends, you're kind of like in shock. Like, how did I
Get here.
I'm here now?
Yeah.
Like, this is my reality?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so there was a period of that for myself, like that. Okay. And then even like the first couple of dates, I probably wasn't my best, right? Because it was just awkward. I hadn't been next to someone besides my wife in over 10 years.
Yeah.
So you kind of really don't even know how to be, if that makes any sense. You don't know how to be yourself. What does that mean?
Yeah.
And so
Who am I at this age
Yeah.
in this time in my life? Yeah, I had a lot of similar things with that, where you're just like, I don't, and we've talked about this too, because especially when you're with somebody for so long, like you start watching the kind of shows that they watch, or eating, meals at like 9:30 p.m. that normally you wouldn't, and like, and then that kind of becomes the things that you both like, right? And that's part of the things you do together. So then when that stops, and I know you know about this too, it's like, you're like, oh, wait.
you were on a team.
Yeah.
And now you're no longer on that team.
And you're like, wait, but I never liked eating at 9. I would have never done that alone, or whatever. Or that show was all right, but really I just watched it because he liked it, And
Yeah.
so then you start at least I'm going to just speak for myself. After my last long relationship, after I accepted what it was, and I was gutted. Like I went through it, like in my head, and just to be super vulnerable, because that's why I did the podcast. Now I'm in my late 30s. Maybe I can have a baby, maybe I can't. And that was the biggest thing for me. And we've talked about this in another episode, because I'm like, ooh, that was taken from me. Like, other than that, I could care less about the thing. Obviously you're sad, whatever. But for me, I was like, damn, that I can't get back.
Right.
So that was the hardest part. But after I accepted that, and I remember one of my best friends, Valery, she had a conversation with me. She was like, you can always have a baby. You could do IVF and did it. And I was like, Val, her name's Valery too, I know. I was like, I'm okay if it doesn't happen. She's like, no, but don't give up your dream. I was like, Val, I have to, for my own mental health and my heart, excite myself about all the things that I can do if I don't have a kid. Because I like you, love to travel. I, like you, am very selfish with my time with fitness. And I like my body thin. Sorry, it is what it is, you know, and like, and abs and stuff. And I know a lot of that can possibly change. And so I started thinking about all those things that I can do without a kid. And I got excited.
Yeah.
For the first time. And I saw a life for myself that didn't have a child. And I was like,
I can do this.
I can do this.
Yeah.
And I know what she was trying to do. She was just like, don't give up on that. But at the same time, I was just like, that may not happen for me. And I'm, for the first time, okay with it. And that took a lot.
Yeah.
You know? But after that, I was like, cool. Let's date.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was it? And I'm just curious for you. So after you were reluctant and then it was like, whatever, was there a moment after the first few dates that were like, oh, this is weird? Was there ever a time that you enjoyed it or not? You know what I mean? Like,
I mean, let's talk about the kind of women that you met, because you know.
Lord.
no, he doesn't like. I mean,
Lord, oh Lord. So,
Because I want to hear about this catfish story.
So I didn't necessarily enjoy the process, but
yeah,
I knew that this was the quickest path I had to take to meet someone, because I wanted to meet someone. I wanted to
Statistically, yeah.
relationship, and and just based on my lifestyle, that I knew that I could do this while raising a child and working without
that's true.
going out there and posting up at the bar or
Yeah.
Not that you drink.
But you know, that's
Yeah,
how people
what people
see it.
did.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
go to clubs. Like,
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm at the gym, but half of my gym is 60 years old and above. So
Oh, okay.
that would have been hard. So yeah, and then there's so many like ups and downs. I think mostly downs in my experience, not yours, Lucky.
I am lucky.
In the dating, in the
Yeah.
apps, you have, you know, I didn't go on a date unless I was semi excited, and then unfortunately a lot of the drives home were
Dang.
yeah, but you got to reset every time, because if you go into the next one with a little like, oh, this better be right, so you tried to go in excited, optimistic. I think that's the word. I was like optimistic. But yeah, where do I start with the stories?
I mean, I'm going to say really quick too. I feel like I'd have a hard time with the dating app just because I know I'm so picky.
Oh, as soon as I became single, I was like, I'm screwed. Like, because I just know
He's
myself.
picky.
The smallest things, I'm just like,
No.
not gonna be able to do it. Nope. And it could be something, you know, I am just like Seinfeld, like the smallest thing, and I'm like, no. She laughs like a hyena, like, can't. Or like, no, it was just, you know, just the smallest things.
I would hate to be, by the way, on the receiving end of that. You say that just because I have a big laugh. Not that I'm a hyena, but I'm just saying, like, I
Your
would
laugh
hate.
is fine.
Thank you.
It's
But,
because I
you
like
know.
to make people
by the
laugh.
way-
It's a certain laugh that you're just like, I can't listen to that for the rest of my life. Like, that's not.
Yeah.
Or vice versa. Maybe the way a guy's chewing his food, you're like, I can't stare at this
Yeah.
for the next 50 years. Like, this man's a caveman. Like, things
Yeah.
like that.
What I was going to say, but I think, and we were talking about this a little bit earlier, is I don't think you're picky, and I guess that's arguable.
Specific.
I think that you know what you want, and that's different, you know, and I think that's healthy, and I think I mean, not to make us sound super old, but I think we need to do that. Like, we're not getting any younger, and nobody's trying to waste their time.
Right.
Like,
So, but here's the constructive criticism that I have gotten from a man.
okay.
I grew up,
Constructive.
and we're going to get back to the catfishing, by the way.
Yes.
Put a pin in that. I grew up when it was like the height of rom-coms, which is like the late 90s, early 2000s. And so for me, I'm like, that is like 27 Dresses, James Marsden, like that is my man. And so it's like, for me, I guess I just had really high standards on what romance is. And if you get upset, the boy is supposed to chase after you and da 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 da. And so it's like, this is not a rom-com. Like, that's not how relationships work. I'm like, but that's what I want, you know? And then, I don't know.
You're going to find that. All I'm going to say is don't and I just wanted to cuss that guy out. whoever that person who told you that, it's just like that's obviously not them. They're obviously haven't found that person to fulfill that for them, so they think it's doesn't exist. But and I've told this to you, and it's to like all of my friends and stuff too. It's like I'm so happy personally that I didn't settle, and this is something we also wanted to talk about because that's really hard. And I've shared this. I don't know how much I've shared this, but it's really hard to leave a situation that isn't necessarily bad. It's just not everything that you want, right? Like it could be a million times worse, and it wasn't. And like I was, and but choosing what you want and what you deserve and what you and is very difficult. But if you have the guts and you have the faith to do it, you have to do that for yourself, and you have to believe that it's out there because it is. And until you find it, don't settle. Just don't. Like, it's not worth it. Like, because I just disagree. I do think that guy who's gonna romance the shit out of you is freaking out there.
And he's not gonna have small hands.
No, you
I think it's a combination of not settling, but also having realistic expectations.
Sure.
It's
yes.
the combo.
It has. You're
Because
right. Yes.
there are certain people listening that have certain expectations, and they're like, "I'm never gonna settle," and it's like, "Girl, that's crazy." Like, let's be realistic, right? So I think it's a combination of.
I mean, I
This
hate
is
the
what
word
I like.
realistic, though. I hate that when it's applied to anything in life, like dreams or don't be realistic. No, because then I'm settling for what you think is right for me versus like I have a grand vision for.
Yeah. And I think and I
That's a good
understand
point.
what you're talking about, and I know and
Because there's more to it. Career is different. There's more to it. Like, because also, what does this person bring to the table? You have a lot of people out there that require this. I want this, and they don't even provide 1/10 of that.
Yeah,
That's unrealistic.
yeah.
Right? Not that, I want, now, obviously, you bring a lot to the table and you want, then you shall get that.
right.
But if you're just like, I'm just pretty and I want, it's
true.
like, that's not. Or
Yeah.
the guy, the guy is just
I'm good
a
looking.
slob and not together and kind of a jerk. And he's like, oh, I want an in-shape woman and all these things, but he's not any of these things.
Right. I think that's a great point. And I do I forgot who said it, and I was, especially after my breakup, I was following all the relationship
I think you're gonna say the quote that I want to say. Go.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I don't remember the quote. So now you set me
damn.
up to fail.
I'm sorry. Shoot, I was like,
So basically, I don't remember a specific quote, but it was essentially like, make sure that what you're requesting or hoping in somebody or requesting in somebody or whatever is that you're giving that. So don't expect something from somebody else that you're not already giving. The end.
that wasn't my quote.
I had a feeling it wasn't, but I think that's important. Because you're right. Like, you can be like, well, I want him to romance me, and I want him to be rich, and I want him to have it together, and he needs to be fit. And it's like, but if you're not even half those things, like,
That's not fair. Yeah.
but I will say though, there's a person for everybody. I think at my core, I do believe like there is somebody who's going to be like all for what you have to give.
Yeah.
And I just really, at the end of the day, I do with everything in my heart believe that.
That reminds me of something, but I do got to get the quote out, which
Get the
was
quote out.
get that quote out, that social media quote that you guys have seen that was like, stop focusing on trying to find the one and focus on being the one.
Yeah.
Like, work on you.
Yeah.
So that's it. But to your
Preach, girl. Yeah, I like that one.
what you had just said about there's somebody for everybody who's gonna like love the shit out of you. I remember I was on tour with Monster Jam, and there was one of these drivers, and he's a really handsome dude, and his wife was his high school sweetheart. They've been together forever, and you could just tell like he loved the shit out of her because he'd be like, after they had children, she had these stretch marks on her tummy, and I think she was like in a bikini, and he's like, they're like zebra stripes. It's just so sexy, and we're all like, okay, never really saw it like that, but I love that he just found that and thought it was just the like,
Hot.
yeah. And I was like, oh,
That's so good. I love that. And I think more women need to, and men, not just women, like both people in relationships, like that's how right?
yeah,
Yeah, when you feel like, oh, I am 100% me, and like they're in, like they like it.
Yeah.
So you're gonna find that.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Whoever said you're being unrealistic or blah blah blah, whatever. Yeah.
Screw you. Anyways, but I want to talk, because again, I just thought it was hilarious that you were bold enough to tell some person. Let's talk about the catfishing story. Like, you told her about herself.
Here's one thing I realized. So, from not dating before I was married, apps weren't really a thing yet, right? And so, what was that, like 13 years ago or something? And so now that apps are very common and over 50% of people use them to meet people, I just think that it was different. And people altogether, I think, in general, because of social media and filters and all of these things, people aren't confident and just upfront with who they are, and they won't just present themselves. They want to present phony versions. And that is, so there, look, you can doctor your Instagram, but when you doctor your dating profile and these pictures and Facetune this and that, like and I experienced that from the business side with the clients, like you're gonna meet that person. But I've literally talked to these people and asked them why they've done it, and they would say like, but they still like their chances.
What?
They still like their chances knowing that, hey, at least I had that first date. Maybe he will.
That's deceiving, though.
But they, in their head, they're like, I wouldn't have even made it to that first date by doing these things. So when I'm there, even if I have a 10% chance, I didn't have that 10% chance before. Right? But you're also wasting someone else's time. And it goes both ways. Men are doing it to women. Women are doing it to men. And so, yeah, I noticed that early on. So my vetting process as I got going was, because I don't want to waste time. Right? So the vetting process got super strict for some.
But how do you vet? How do you vet
all.
that, like, video chat?
Yes.
Oh,
No. So it's, you text, and then you have
On the
phone
app.
on the app. Then you have a phone conversation, and then you.
And you could do a video call with people on the app.
But I've also been deceived, even after doing a FaceTime, because it was literally like a FaceTime,
Right.
just a face.
Good angles.
And as much as I wanted to be like, hey, can you walk and go get that over there and come back? I couldn't, right? Because like, this guy's
an asshole.
right. Yeah. But I was saying exactly. So you can't ask that. So of course I didn't. But then I go on a date, and long story short, I valeted, and she valeted, and she was like a couple cars back, and I didn't even know it was her. And then I walked into the restaurant, and then she walked in, and I was like, oh, was that the girl at the valet? Like, didn't even recognize.
Oh.
And yeah, and this person was probably 75 pounds heavier than her picture.
Oh.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
It's a whole person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she was cool, but that's not what.
The whole point is transparency. Like, because like you say, there's somebody for everybody, and somebody might like and enjoy the extra 75 pounds of loving.
Yeah.
But
100%.
But if you're dating somebody and the whole thing is like, let me show you what I look like before we meet, then show me what you look like. Don't show me the parts that you choose to show me, and then
Or what you wish you look like.
yeah.
So after I experienced that a few times, towards the end, I kind of got fed up a little bit. And so one person I might or might not have said, like, the conversation afterwards was like, it was a good time and everything, but, I just didn't think that you looked like your picture. So I just can't. And she
and you asked her, right? You were like,
and so she said, okay, like, I can respect that. And the way I am, like, I'm not just gonna go. Like, I gotta kind of try to
Dig in.
teach a little story on my way out.
Yeah.
School someone on their way out. And so I was like, so do you think you look like your photo on your profile? And she's like, oh yeah. And I was like, but I would have to disagree, like, strongly. And she was like, no, you're entitled to feel like that. I understand that. I was like, but you think that you look just like your photo. She's like, absolutely. So we're dealing with some, like,
Denial.
delusion
Right.
Yeah.
here, or she knows, and she's just
Right.
You know, what's interesting is because I feel like I saw something on the news or something, maybe it was social media, and plastic surgeons were saying people were coming in and wanting to look like what they filtered themselves
yes, 100%.
to
I've
look
heard
like.
that too.
And you're like, oh,
Yeah,
these filters are not healthy for like young people.
yeah. I mean, you think about the Kardashians, and I knew a surgeon, and he's like, they come in with their picture,
Yeah.
like Kim's face.
Yeah. But it's like you're never.
But then you look around town, and you're like, how many Kims do you see?
Yeah.
I've seen like 1,500.
Yeah.
They all weren't born like that.
No. And it's funny because there's one girl that I knew her from hosting. But I didn't know her directly. I just saw her in passing. Like, okay, first of all, there were like 500 hosts at AfterBuzz TV, but I just happened to see her all the time in passing. She's a really cute girl. And I had recently seen her on social media, and I thought it was a joke. Like, I thought she put her face through a filter, and I was like, why did she do that? And as I went through more of her pictures, I was like, oh, no, she did do that. And it was like so much lip filler that her lip curled up almost to her nose. And I was like, oh, no. And she had a boyfriend, so I was just like, I wanted to be like, boyfriend, why? Like, I mean, I guess you just wanted her to be happy with herself, but what made her think she needed to look like that? Because it looks like she got stung by a lot of bumblebees. And I don't mean that in a mean way, but it's like uneven, like whoever did the job did a terrible job. And you're just like, oh.
Well, my point in saying this too is like, I think the apps are good, but you gotta know that you gotta dig through a lot of stuff to find what you want. Sometimes it happens right away. Sometimes it happens after a couple of months. For you, it happened a little quicker, I think.
Not really.
No?
It was like 2 years, 2.5 years.
You had better experiences than me.
I wouldn't say that. I mean, sure.
You didn't have
but-
any bad dates? You said you really didn't have...
No, not like, yes. I mean, I had people like...
She dated a guy who had small hands. I can't let
The
that go.
small hand guy.
You heard about him?
No.
Oh, we talked about
But
it
it's
on
a
another
thing.
podcast.
It's a thing. It's
no,
a thing.
well, but no, he lied about his height, and we were like, he was like probably 5'1", 5'2", and he was just small. And I'm like,
One?
And he said he was 6 foot.
6 foot. Yeah,
Like, that's a stretch.
That's a
foot
huge
difference.
right? So it was,
Bruh.
yeah. We call him though. My mom still laughs. I love my mommy. My mom's like. She's like, you remember? We call him the wine and the walk because he was my very first one, and my mom had helped. Like I came back to LA, my mom came with me and was helping me move and stuff, and it was like my first one, and she's like, I go, telling me whatever, and I'll never forget. This is kind of funny. Like on his profile, he put something about he likes chocolate covered almonds or some shit. I don't know. And you know me, I'm like trying to be thoughtful. And I
Yeah.
was like, okay, like if he's gonna pay for dinner, like I'll get the almonds. It's the only thing I knew he put on his profile. It's like, cool. And by the way, the only reason I had taken that date was because I knew him like in the past, like, but it didn't really quite remember, blah, blah, whatever. So we go on this wine in the walk. It was horrible. There was never no wine. There was water. He was short, all the bad things. And I'll never forget on the way back on my mom on the drive home. And I'm telling her, and what was weird is that for some reason, my mom and I are super connected. She said she had this like thought of like, what if he's not tall? Like it was weird out of nowhere. And then I'm telling her the story, and my mom goes, I bet he didn't get the almonds. I was like, no. And she loved it because she loves almonds. And so we sure enough, we're like, ha ha ha, eating our little Trader Joe's almonds.
That's funny.
I bet he didn't get the almonds. Plenty times. But no, I had definitely just, I mean, everybody was nice or whatever, but I think you do get, at least for, I'm a hopeless romantic, and I want my person, and I thought I had my person forever ago, and and so it does get disheartening, you know, because like you find somebody and you're like, oh, maybe, and then, I would tell you certain things about people and be like, oh, but this thing. And then it's like, no, but you got to give people chances about this.
But you were good about following your gut when there was something that you were just like, no, this drives me crazy. And it'd be something that on the outside might seem minute, but it wasn't for you. So you're like, I'm going to move on. And I give you so much kudos for that because
and my mom, funny enough, she would be like, I think after a while, she was kind of like telling me like, I need to give people more chances. And I was like,
yeah.
But you knew, like, you were on the date.
Right.
You can, I don't foresee this. You can, even if the person is exactly what they look like, and when you're there in person, you're just like,
Look,
Now,
you can be fine as hell, and
this
your
ain't it.
personality is
You
like
know.
a doorknob.
Like, we're not
Yeah.
20. Like, like,
Yeah,
and then you also know when you have something as well. Like, you have both, like, kind of right away. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, and I think, and we were talking a little bit about this. It's like, so what is it like dating in your 30s or 40s, or what does it take to date in your 30s or 40s? It takes, at least I believe, like knowing yourself, and more importantly for me was knowing what I want, but more importantly knowing what I didn't want, because it just made the process easier. And in the beginning, what was hard for me was telling people I wasn't into them, like at first, because again, people pleaser, whatever. And then
they don't take the news well.
Here's the thing.
90, you said it was good for you.
Yeah.
90% don't. Men and women.
Yeah.
Guys especially. I know from clients before, like, guys, well why not?
That's
Why?
What?
What do you mean? Let's go out again. I can do better this time. Like,
Oh.
guys do not, even if, because I would tell the girls, like, don't ghost them, be respectful,
Right.
like, hey, this isn't for me, you were great, just isn't a vibe, I wish you the best. Well, why not?
No,
Well,
I
like,
never
guys,
experienced that.
guys are,
They get hurt.
look, there's no argument here. Women have it a lot harder than men in the apps, like, for sure. Like,
Men, like, yeah, there's a certain level of respect that they don't sometimes.
no, they don't, just reject, because also I think on the apps, a lot of people are looking for love, and I hear this from a lot of women too, like, the guys come on so strong. Like, it's been 3 dates, like, you're talking,
Hold on. Let's just,
Yes.
I'm gonna,
but people go there to
Yeah.
find love, and they want to get married, and if
Alikona's like, call me.
if they're with someone that they like, and
yeah.
you actually get a second date, the guy's like, this is it.
Yeah.
This is the girl. And then 2 more dates, the girl's like, oh, this isn't really. And he's like, wait, what? Like, and then they get like upset, and
Right.
and then it gets, like, okay, this is why you're single.
Yeah.
It's like,
You're
bruh,
doing too much.
like, just learn from it. Ask her, maybe get some feedback if you can. And a lot of times it's like, you didn't do anything wrong, just
Wasn't the right.
wasn't for me.
Yeah.
I think my approach was also just letting them know, like, I'm on a really specific trajectory, and you're cool, but it's it's not what I'm looking for, but I really appreciate your time, blah blah blah. And honestly, all of the men were like really like showed an outpouring of respect for me for saying that. And I mean, some would be like, well, if you, good luck to you, I hope you find your person. If you don't, you got my number. You know?
Yeah.
And we're really funny with it. And I was like, good for you.
Come
like,
on. They said that
yeah.
if you don't,
yeah, you still
Yeah.
get my number.
you pass once, that's it. Like, you leave the door open, like, if it doesn't work out, give me a call.
But I love that. I feel like, to me, like, because if for whatever reason I kept dating and he was everything checked and it was maybe like a whatever.
Yeah.
And I thought, like, no, maybe whatever. The way that he handled that, again, kind of what we were talking about earlier, to me, personality and like how somebody holds themselves and stuff, that trumps physicality and any of that, always for me. And to me, that's attractive.
Yeah.
Like the way that he handled that with like ease and confidence and a little joke, I was like, cool.
Good.
I would, if I might call you back. I
Yeah.
probably wouldn't. But that makes me think twice, though, just on how he approached it and how cool he was about it and silly and
And that's how you should be. But
Yeah.
most of the time,
Yeah.
it's not like that.
yeah, that sucks. But yeah. So, but luckily for us, like, what was it?
No mas. Oh,
You're like, did it, done, good.
deleted the app
Yeah,
a long time ago.
that felt good. Yeah.
You triggered something that made me think of something that made me like, and it's like relevant but irrelevant, because you were talking about the guys being like super, but why not? Da-da-da.
hurt.
And so I want to reverse that, because we were talking about this book that I read that talks
Yes,
about.
talk about that book.
Okay, so my friend recommended this book. Now, something to keep in mind, I mean, it was written by somebody who studied the brain, who is a therapist / maybe psychologist, don't quote me on it. And it's called How to Get to I Do. And it was more so from the perspective of not like she wasn't giving it to me like, I think you want to get to I do and you don't know how. It was, ooh, I see a lot of masculine tendencies but you want your man to be masculine and you're doing these things. And I was like, okay, hold on. And I read it and it was talking about just the way that the brain operates differently. That was a setup, and I'm going somewhere way different with this, by the way, guys. But to talk about women, like when guys complain about women getting like clingy or attached like so quickly and they don't understand why. And so I'm like, okay, scientific proof. So when a woman sleeps with a man prior to like commitment, because she's just like feeling him and, you know, things happen, whatever, they bond to a dude when they have sex with them. So a woman's brain releases something called oxytocin, which is the same chemical that releases, like, say, when you have an addiction. That doesn't happen as much with men as it does with women. And it's why women can have multiple orgasms, because they release so much oxytocin during sex that they become bonded. So then once you're done and say the guy's just like living his best life and had no intention on being with her, well, she's now chemically bonded. So it doesn't matter how intelligent she is, how much of a good head she has on her shoulders. In her brain, she's like, you know, deep, 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 like, but I like him. I love him. I can't stop thinking about him. Why can't I stop thinking about him? It's not your fault. My whole point is, girl, it's not your fault. You just released some oxytocin. Thank you. Multiple orgasms. But now you like glued to this guy, like, you know, whatever. Yeah. So it's like, they're like, the lady's advice is like, don't see him for X amount of time. Otherwise you won't, if you listen to his voicemails or you go on his Instagram or whatever, the oxytocin is going to release in your brain again. And then suddenly you're going to fall in love with him all over again. So I say that because again, you do hear men being like, I don't get it. Like, why, you know,
you sleep with somebody and
yeah. And it's like, that's why. So men, if there's any men listening, it's like, take that into consideration. If you are starting to talk to somebody and you're like, she's not the one, just know, like, you're in for some trouble if you start having sex with
They're
this
not
person.
going to listen to that girl. I wish they would, but
yeah.
No, they're going to be like, well, that's for her to figure out.
That's her problem.
Yeah, that's for her to figure out. I wanted, because earlier we were talking about the masculine and the feminine in relationships, and like some of the stuff that you talked about you shared with us about the book. And so after reading it and learning about the masculine and feminine, has it been helpful for you and now approaching dating again? Or
I mean, I'm not dating, but I'm focusing. I'm like, no, but it makes me look at my relationship and go, oh, I set that up a certain way. When she says in your masculine energy, it doesn't mean I'm a tomboy. It doesn't mean when you say my partner is feminine, he's not feminine like metrosexual or like, you know, a little feminine like that. It means like his love.
She was twirling her hair if you're not watching.
Yes, it was more so like the feminine energy is generally in the beginning of the relationship the receiver. And this is going back to like, not pro magnum man like that, but you know what I mean? Like the man is the provider. So therefore he proves his worthiness by showing he can provide for you. So that's a masculine energy. And he falls in love through the process of not proving himself, but showing you he can do these things. That's how again, we're talking about left brain, right brain, and how men are so logical and left brain. For whatever reason that triggers them to fall in love is when they're proving and showing like, I can do all these things. So and
that can, I just want to add this, that can go with whether you're born male or female, that you can identify, you know, with more of your masculine energy in general, and still, you know, be a woman, you know.
And look feminine. But I was saying, like, I set the tone for, and multiple people, like, when I've gone out with guys, it's like, I feel guilty being paid for because that's not normal to me. My mom was mainly the provider. So there's this overwhelm, and I was made to feel like a burden. So the last thing I want to do is be a burden to anybody. So when you start paying for me, I'm like, oh God, like this person's, I know they're not super financially like abundant in their life right now. And I feel like I'm taking advantage by always letting you pay every time we go out. So I'm over here like, oh, I got it. I'll pay. But that's a masculine energy. And we haven't established our roles yet in this relationship. So then once we're involved and all of a sudden I want to be taken care of, it's like, but no.
But you never established that. Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
and then that's not
their fault. No, not at all.
Yeah.
But it was just understanding that and being like, oh, this makes me cringe, but I'm going to sit there. And because Teresa, who we've had on this show before, Teresa Espinoza, she's like, girl, no, your job is to receive. But that doesn't mean take advantage and just receive gifts. It means you give back in a different way, whether it's emotionally supporting a guy because they tend to not be emotional and giving them their props and which by the way you're really good at, because I can even hear you like in between doing stuff like good job baby, you did it. It's like that's your version of giving. It may not be a materialistic item or a financially pay, money, but it's a different kind of giving, and that's a feminine energy. Whereas again, going back to caveman times, not that I want to be in those times, but it's like, you went out and you provided and you took care of this other person, and she took care of something.
And that's a really interesting topic, and we've talked a lot about this because I like that, and not that's not for everybody. So I prefer to sit in my feminine, and I, as many of you know, like, I am a successful woman. I get what I want. And as far as like career wise, like I'm a go-getter. Like I don't sit around. I don't want to be, just like doing nothing. And like, I just, want like the purses and the shoes and That's not my style. Not to say if that's your style, get it, girl. But that's never been me. But I do like to sit in my feminine and be taken care of. And it's funny because I read, and I don't even remember the quote, but it was something like sings something along the lines of being like an independent, strong, like career-driven woman, but like secretly, like I just want somebody to take care of me.
Yeah.
And not secretly. I'm very vocal about it.
Yeah. But it's being able to turn it off when you get home.
Right.
And I'm just so used to taking care of either myself or just not wanting someone. Yes, I want you to take care of me. I just don't know how to receive that because I've never had that before. So that's why it's that uncomfortable. Am I taking advantage of this person?
And it will, you know what, it's going to happen because I fell into my masculine energy in one of my relationships, and I got very comfortable in it, and I didn't. So in my next relationship, I was you, and I felt so guilty when this person wanted to take care of me, and I was like, oh, and then I was like, oh, this is fucking amazing. I was like, I get it. I understand, and I mean, I was on a TV show, like I was good. I didn't need somebody to do that, but getting that and being able to again sit and be like, let somebody do that for you. I was like, wow. This feels good. Yeah.
Yeah. Wait, so okay, now let me ask you, David, from a gentleman's perspective, like, do you get gratification? I know I just gave that to you. Do you get gratification out of being able to take care of, like, do you generally, because I'm going off of what I read in a book, whereas you are a dude. So
it feels good.
Yeah.
It feels good to provide. It feels good to take care of somebody. And so absolutely. Like I prefer being in that.
And you've never felt like somebody is taking advantage or...
No, because I know, as long as I get something back.
But right? What do you want back? Like, what do you...
It doesn't have to be financial. Being a provider comes in all different forms. So, and then also knowing their circumstance too, like, oh, they don't have a lot of money, so that's fine. As long as, you take care of this or you take care of that at home, or... You are supportive, and then also being appreciative of the financial situation. Like, but I think, like someone who's just like, I need that money. This is LA, right? So there's a lot of that.
Yeah.
And so, and I came across that in dating. Like, you knew it was more of a situation. Like, oh, you don't really care about.
You had somebody, I remember him telling me a story about somebody who wanted to tell you where to take them or something? Like suggest a restaurant or something, or like...
Yeah, and I had suggested a place and she was like, boring.
I know.
And I laughed and I was like, oh, you think that I'm that type of guy? And I was like, oh, I'm not your person, girl. And I was like, I could have deleted the message or her like as the match, but I left it there so she read it.
Yeah.
Like, oh no, you got me confused. I was like, oh, but there's plenty of guys with money in this town that'll just pay for any pretty girl to go do stuff. I was like, I'm not that guy.
See, but then like, what's gonna happen when you start getting older? Not you, but the girl. It's like, what happens when like age starts and you don't have the looks? I mean, maybe you will grow old gracefully and beautifully, but this town and some men value youth, and what happens when you don't have that no more?
Oh, they'll find out the hard way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or they'll change.
Yeah.
They may get their heart broken, or they'll be like, they could change it up at some point. Mm-hmm. Hopefully.
Yeah. I actually just looked at the time. I'm like, I think we're running out of time, y'all. We've been on the air for almost dang near an hour.
I love it. I love it. Again, I wanted to thank David. I know I feel like so cheesy to say that because it's like, but I think more than anything, especially this episode, for me and to even share our story was more just like, if you're looking for love, if it's later in your life, even if you're younger, but don't ever settle. You're gonna find your person. If you're in a situation that you're not happy in, obviously, don't give up. Go to counseling, try your best. Like, be patient. And, not everything's perfect, right? And you always talk about this, like, it doesn't have to be 100% everything's super amazing. So I'm definitely not saying that, because I think that can be misconstrued, especially in Hollywood. Mm-hmm. Like, oh, those celebrities getting divorced every other whatever. I've talked about this in another podcast. Yeah. I felt like a failure. Point is give it your all, obviously. But if it's not working, if it's not for you, don't give up. Your person's out there. And like, whether it be an app, whether it be at the grocery store, dropping some soup. There's some soup on their tongue.
That's gonna hurt, huh?
Soup.
Like, please don't give up. Like, find love, it's worth it.
Don't give up.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, I feel like I should like be singing a song to outro this or something, but I can't think. Never give up on love. I don't know, I just made that up. Is that a song? Oh, goodness.
Thank you for listening, everybody.
Bye.
Adios.